Hello everyone, SpeedingOffence, and this is Morning in a Nameless City. It's been a while since I've done a video, a long while, and in keeping with the videos I've done so far, I'm playing a game that's been out for years and years and years, of course. This is Cities Skylines. Want to talk about traffic in general, and I want to do that by making some modifications to the city. But in general, what I want to talk about is treating the traffic like an enemy. And it's very easy to make this mistake. You know, you see a road that's causing a lot of congestion. Half your city's trying to get through one particular road in your city, and everything's backing up, and you're just looking at that road and thinking it's got to go. But the thing is, you have one road that half your city's trying to use. That's not a bad connection. That's just a poorly implemented road. If half your city wants to get through one place, then you should be working to help them get through that place instead of trying to stop them. I'll give you an example here. Now, I've already cleaned it up, but I had a huge problem with traffic coming up this road here, coming down here, coming across this bridge, going all the way over here, and using this road over here to get to my industrial district. Now, it turned out it was the quickest way to get there. But what that meant is that all of these roads were just clogged up completely with heavy traffic. And initially you think, well, you know, you could close the roads off to heavy traffic and that would work because these guys, they have lots of other ways in. Take that highway, take that highway, take the highway all the way to the end. But instead, I will lose my space in the map. Here we are. Instead, you can help them get to where they want to go. Let's go underground. See if the game will cooperate with me. Here we go. And just give them a very, very extended bypass. And you notice this bypass, this is actually less busy than it usually is, but this bypass gets used all the time. And now all these trucks, they go exactly where they want to go, and they're on their way. And you know, I took that to heart with a lot of other designs I did since then. I mean, you can actually tell this map, I've been working on this for quite some time. So this is where it started, and you can see some of my older designs that I've revamped and covered with trees with time. Some of these awkward bridges that work, but over time, you know, the city has gotten better as I got a better feel for what I was trying to do. Now, to show some of these things, I'm going to redesign a couple parts of the city, in particular my public transit, which I didn't realize was actually going against this school of thought entirely. My public transit is based on the school of thought that I want to tell them where to go. So I have a loop that goes to all the other loops, and a loop here, and a loop here, and the buses are the same way. The buses are, you know, you take a bus to get to the subway, you take the subway to get to the main subway loop, you take the main subway loop to get to another subway loop, which takes you to another bus, and then, and really that's an example of me telling people where to go as opposed to helping them get where they want to go. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to redesign the entire public transit system, and as well, I'm going to get rid of this, because this, I mean, it moves, and I think my traffic throughput is, I'll never find this one, 77%, which isn't bad, and it's all because of this. I mean, this functions, but realistically, let's be completely honest, it's ugly. It's got to go. It's not in keeping with the rest of this design, and you know, let's say you lived up in these hills here. You don't want to be looking over that. So all this is getting torn out and going to be replaced with farms. And I'm going to tuck my heavy industrial back here. Now, anyone who's played this game a lot will be able to tell you you don't want to be spending or too often go and tear out an entire part of your city and replace it. You know, you imagine in a real city, if you remove the entire industrial district in one go, tore down everything, you'd have unemployment through the roof. The city would cease functioning overnight. So this is a big no-no in Cities Skylines, but we're going to do it anyway, because why not? So First, I'll show you some of the highlights of the city. You know, some of the themes that I'm going to try to be in keeping with. I have my sunken highways. I love the sunken highways because it means that all the overpasses can be flat. You don't need big old raises for the bridges. This road, I mean, it's a little raised. You can also see the city is not flat. Any of these awkward-looking intersections, if you zoom in, you have a prime example of this funny-looking intersection right here. Putting an intersection in a spot like this, it was difficult, so it necessitated a bit of an awkward-looking intersection. But this is a fully functioning T intersection. You can see it's a trombone, or is it trumpet? It's one of those intersections where I use one road to pass underneath, and then, you know, the traffic gets where it needs to go. But it does wind up looking a little awkward, but that's just part of the necessity for a city built on a bunch of hills. I'm not really sure what I was going for with this, but again, functional. This is a reverse direction roundabout, so that the traffic coming from this intersection in the middle don't have to actually stop at a stoplight or cross traffic. Quite a fan of this type of interchange. Have it in several places. Apparently I have some rocks on the road. Nice thing about this, it takes traffic off before it puts traffic on. A lot of traffic flow. But yeah, so that's some of the, the basic ideas. I did come up with this interchange, which I've simplified over time. You'll see in some of the upcoming videos that I've cleaned this up a bit. As it stands, this takes up a bit of space, but it can take up a lot less space. Here's how it's working underground. Actually, you know what? Show you that for 2 seconds, then immediately go somewhere else. I made a point of making one above ground. This is what that interchange looks like above ground. It has all the faucets you want. The traffic comes off before it gets put back on. Involves 2 extra bridges. But yeah, you know, go back there. So there's the moment if you want to pause and actually trace out all the different ways that traffic can go. It does actually function, and you can actually squish this in so it takes very, very little space. But I wanted to draw it out, so if you're curious when you see these interchanges in the upcoming sections of the video, this is what they look like with all these bits hidden underground. So let's take a look at the industrial district again. Biggest thing about this is, well, you see I got these. This is just hideous. You know, it's not that it doesn't function. It could function a lot better, but it's just terrible. This was me trying to be creative, and you got all this mess, and you know, you use a bit of the space, lots of overpasses and everything, and you know, parts of it look okay, but overall, that's just, it's bad. It's got to go. And this, I mean, I don't want my industrial district to be, you know, the view from the nicest parts of the city. Although, according to the game, this is one of the most hideous parts of the city. I think my city attract 14%. Yeah, the game thinks my city's ugly. Oh, it looks like I'm going through a death wave as well. I'm sure that's a pretty sight from up top. Anyway, might as well get started here. So, without further ado, let's move on to part with the industrial district removed. Alright, so I've torn out the industrial district and I've put in some new highways. The reason I brought up that intersection before was because after a lot of tweaking, this is what I got it to look like. This is the above ground impact of that intersection. Underground, it looks like a mess, but if you look in close, this is not as spaghetti as it looks. You have one road coming back, splits here. This one cuts underneath, same over here. So yeah, while it may at initial look kind of spaghetti, it's really not. Now this is spaghetti. This is terrible, but luckily it's all underground. Let's not pay much attention to that. This is what I've been using to get a full interchange without actually taking up a lot of real estate on the ground. So if you wanted a better idea of what that looked like earlier in the video, I'll try to put a timestamp up in this video or something, so you can jump back to it. Well, or I can just go back to it. So that's what this looks like, or this is what that looks like if it's above ground. But once you have it here, you can use the Move It tool, squish it right in. And of course I've gone with, you can see, this is very, very recently removed. You can see where all my old roads were. So the trucks are still wondering what the heck's going on. Still love these sunken highways, so convenient. You know, okay, so these entrances kind of look a little wonky, but overall the look of these sunken highways is, I'm just a huge fan. Also, my city didn't have an airport before. 120 some odd thousand people, no airport. Well, now it's got one, and this does hook up to the highway. You see, it's roundabout, underground, connects here, connects blah blah blah. Connects exactly how you would expect it to, and I have two metros. One is going to run down the length of this road. The other is going to, well, you'll see in a moment. So, as I'm sure you've all picked up, I'm loading a sequence of saved files here. I wanted some sort of congruency in the narrative. At this point, I've done just about all the work except putting in the industrial district itself. So I've put in my metro, and the train actually doesn't start here. The train starts all the way back here at my new industrial sector, which, to be honest, I'm not a fan of how this one's kind of close to my incineration facility, and this one isn't. I'm going to want to touch that up a bit in future, but right now it's functional. But yeah, train gets here. It's a bus loop. One bus goes down this way, one bus goes down that way, yada yada. Using the Move It tool and a heck of a lot of time, I have put the train line right down the middle of the highway, not because that's functional or practical, but because I really like the way it looks. So it comes through here. This is actually the cargo line that crosses underneath to head towards the industrial district. Comes through here. Comes past the airport, underneath the runway. I'm sure that's safe. And I looked all over for the best place to move this through. So to give you an idea, we're up in this corner of the city. I'll zoom back in. I'm sure that was long enough for y'all to get an idea of where we were. Comes up here. Already had this overpass, and I thought, well, yes, of course it's going underneath that because it can. So it crosses over here, comes down through here, through this relatively dense area, comes underground to a bus loop here. And again, to put this in perspective, we've come from up here, through here, down to this bus loop here, which is new. And now it comes back past my gigantic turbine intersection, which is, honestly, purely aesthetic. There's no reason an intersection or an interchange needs to be that big. It just looks nice, or at least I think so. Game thinks it's ugly, but that comes across here. And big reason I wanted in the highway here was because there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of space I could be putting down a train line without tearing out huge tracts of land. If you're wondering, this is actually the spot I mentioned earlier with the bypass. See, the bypass comes under here, comes over here. So you come along, follow the highway, and you do your best with the Move It mod to get this as tucked in as possible. And did I make this high enough? Yeah, I'm sure the trains will fit. There's no trains yet because I haven't actually set up a metro line. Matter of fact, the game has probably passed about 12 seconds since the last save because I've done all this while it's paused. Anyway, comes down here past bridge after bridge after bridge. And you see each one of these are interchanges as well. These are ways for traffic to get in and out of the highway. They come to, where does this one go? I'm losing track of what I'm doing. Metro ends here at a final bus loop. Now this is going to be a big bus loop. It already is a big bus loop. Has a subway station, and this is the bus loop for the whole area. Now as for metro, there is a metro as well. Comes out from here, comes back over here, and comes to here. Now I'm sure you're thinking, well, why not just make it a loop? Well, because I plan on bringing this down this way. Also, there are lots of ways to get through this area by bus, including bus routes that come around. I have 2 bus routes that go around the lake, which I'm sure it's easy to miss. It's fed by this gigantic waterfall from my natural springs, my cheater lake back here with infinite water. Yes, I did make this map myself. And of course, I lost my train of thought there. Where were we? All right, bus loops. So yeah, if you need to get from here to here, there are lots of ways to get across by bus. As well, if you're just trying to get to the train station, you'll just take the metro up to this train station. So you'll probably have noticed one thing. I've forgotten to put in bus lines in this section, but I do have both a metro station here and a metro station here, and I took advantage of this little bit of land using Traffic Manager. You're wondering about all these intersections, how are they going to work? Well, they're not intersections as far as the game's concerned. The only vehicles that are going to be using these streets are buses. I hope. Have I made that the case? I have not, so I'm going to have to actually restrict these all for buses, but that's easy enough to do with the Traffic Manager. Yeah, if you're wondering, you just click on it, turn off anything you don't want there. Anyway, so this one of the metros is up here. This stretch of road is long enough that I can sort of get away as using it for my buses. I'll have some of the buses come here and they can walk to the metro, but lots and lots of spaces for buses. Looks like this is probably one of the areas where I deleted a bus line because we have a whole bunch of people out in the middle of nowhere. So anyway, that's what it looks like without the industrial district and with the new public transit system put in. So this is my first crack at putting in a new industrial district. At initial glance, it actually looks kind of nice. I like this overhead road. Now, obviously, you see, I had to turn these, whatever you want to call them, so that it would go down the middle of the road. But there's some inherent flaws here. Also, the eagle-eyed amongst you will realize that some of these little bits are different than the last video. That's because that last video was a final save with all the bus routes in. I did those last after I put this together, and then wound up redoing everything. So yeah, I later went through and just did all the bus routes first. But this road down the middle, this is exclusively for buses, so it has a loop at each end. Now, the entire district is serviced by a highway that goes around it, and these are two-way roads. Now, I imagine a few of you are already picking up that there are problems here. You know, if you're trying to go this way, it means you have to get all the way up to this road and then come down. Also, there's not a lot of entrances and exits to this main highway. There's actually 3? Yeah. Actually, yeah, there's 3, I believe. I'm not entirely sure where this one lets on. Actually, let's take a peek. Why not? Oh, apparently it's a bypass from that road, which, not a bad idea. Realistically, though, that means there's only 2 ways that they can get on and off this highway, which makes the highway a bit redundant. It means that most of them are actually going to spend all of their time on these highways, which, you know, I'm not against them doing. Again, you know, the whole spiel I went on at the beginning, where you don't want to stop traffic from using a road. You want to help them where they want to get, right? But with this huge highway here, I want to make it easier for them to get onto it, so they'll actually want to use it, and where they'll get where they're trying to get to faster. Also, you know, the roundabout is it's mostly fine. Problem with the roundabout is not the roundabout itself. It's the areas around the. Let's say this intersection here backs up. It's going to back up onto the roundabout, and when it does, it's going to shut down this. It's going to shut down this. It's going to shut down this. Also, let's say you have someone here and he wants to get on the highway. Now he's got to travel all the way to here, go through the roundabout, come down, and get on the highway. Now, that'd be perfectly fine if this was a residential district. Matter of fact, this reminds me of what a lot of less dense cities do for for their highway on-ramps. This would be perfectly functional for a low-density area, but an industrial district is not a low-density area. So when you have a guy trying to get here, the whole idea of a roundabout is to make it easier to get where you're going, because there's no stoplights, right? But by doing this, I'm actually adding all the through traffic to the roundabout. And as much as this looks fine, it's going to wind up having its problems. So I decided I would start over entirely. So let's go to the second try. So before I get to the second edit, I want to show you this little creation I put together for it. I decided I wanted to have roads moving through the middle of it, and the only way to do that without having a traffic light every 50 meters is by having bypasses. And so I put together this, which is, I think, about the smallest turbine interchange I've ever seen. These roads are a little steep in places, a little bit crazy, but it does go everywhere it needs to go. So you're going to see a couple of these in this edit. This is what you're looking at. This is up close, the tiniest turbine, so to speak. So let's head over here. And obviously I didn't get very far on this one before I decided I didn't like it. In particular, I didn't like the way that this wound up looking. But from afar, I didn't like these big stadium-looking things every such distance. Also, it didn't really solve the problem. I still have intersection. So while there's not going to be any traffic hold up here, there's going to be a whole traffic hold up everywhere else, and this wasn't a solution to the problem either. Although the actual density I could compact into here is pretty substantial. You notice I also went with lots of extras of these intersections or interchanges I mentioned earlier. They took a long time to do, and it's kind of sad when you put a bunch of time and effort into putting things together, and realistically, I mean, these smaller ones with these, they don't wind up looking as good as, say, this one, which, quite frankly, I'm very, very pleased with that. But so that's where I wound up being for my second edit, and I wound up trashing it as well. So this is my third and hopefully final edit. You see I've used two of my tiniest turbines, but for my main road I've instead used a double-decker road. This takes a lot of cheesing with the Move It mod. If you're wondering how to do this, what you do is you build your main road and then you build the highway next to it, and then just use the Move It mod to shove it on top. In real life you wouldn't do it that way, but that's how you do it in City Skylines. Now this above road has a much higher speed limit, so it is the ideal way to get across. But if you want to get into any of these sections, you see the intersections are few and far between, and again, not a huge fan of roundabouts, but the roundabout has two bypasses. So anyone going straight is going to go under. Anyone on this main road can cross over. We want to get them up here as much as possible. As a matter of fact, we want to get them over to the highway as much as possible. And here, you'll notice on this side, I just have simple roundabouts. I think they'll be able to handle this amount of traffic just fine. The main reason that all this isn't upgraded is, well, one, I don't think the city can sustain that much industry, because I've added a little bit up here. And two, I'm out of money. So this is going to have to do it. Now, I've done this so far without the unlimited money mod or setting or whatever. I did cheese it a little bit. I got impatient waiting for 2.8 billion, which was a lucky guess because that's what it wound up costing. But I did cheese it. I used the trick to get up. You put all your taxes at 29% for like a week or whatever, and you catch it before your population drops too much and your balance jumps up a whole bunch. But this weekly income is not telling the real story. I'm already, and I can tell from the 2 or 3 seconds that it is unpaused when I load up the game. I am losing huge amounts of money. So this will be the real test. Can I repopulate this before the entire city collapses? So, and I don't have a save game past this point. Yeah, you're gonna see this live as I do, and I'm telling you, this is gonna fail horribly. But we're still gonna find out. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna knock the industrial tax down to 1. We need them moving in, and we're gonna bump everything else up to 12%. I like having my taxes as low as possible, but you know, we know our population's gonna fall. That's a given. We just cut out 3/4 of their jobs, so our population is going to fall. We're going to try to tax them as much as we can before they do, and hopefully we catch it. We're also going to go to policies. Does recycling cost money? Slightly reduced taxing. Well, nope. Parks and recreation. Nope. Free public transport. Yes. Yes, I like free public transport. I think in real life, free public transit should be free. I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't ride it every single day, but they would ride it like once a month or something if they didn't have to carry the change in their pockets. Let's also bring up the budget and let's look at individual things. Okay, well, we've gotten rid of our industrial district, so we have a huge surplus of power. We're going to knock that down to 50%. Water, you don't want to muck with that. Garbage collection, oh, that gets bad real quick. I'm on the verge of a death wave, so unfortunately knocking out the healthcare just isn't an option, and that's a huge part of the budget, but fire department, nope. We're going to cross our fingers on that. Police department, nope. Education, nope. Parks, nope. Public transit, well, it's brand new, so it's not really doing anything. We're going to get rid of all that. You know, we're going to keep our trains up and running because industry depends on that. Airport, nope. Although, actually, you know what? Let's get people using the airport because it's only $600. And, well, now if we look at these figures here, well, I'm guessing this doesn't actually tell the story, so this is probably reflective of what it was at 29%. So I guess there's only one thing to do now, and that is start it up. You're going to see a quick flicker because I'm going to save the game here. And it's also an extra excellent edit point. So here we are, and we're going to hit the play button and see if I immediately go bankrupt. Cross your fingers. I don't know why I'm bothering actually setting the time to the slowest time. I mean, when you have a city this big, it just always runs at the same speed. Okay, so our money's going up right at the moment, but that's going to change. Yeah, you see, we've already lost 3,000 people. Come on, industry, we need you to move in. We need you to move in now. We're getting any takers? Nope. Okay, money's still going up. That'll change very, very quickly. Oh, it looks like this train station doesn't have power. I'm clicking wrong buttons all over the place here. Why doesn't this have power? There we go. Okay, money's still going up. Population's still going down. Was kind of hoping that they'd move in a little quicker. But, okay, well, it isn't a complete and utter disaster just yet. Oh, geez. Looks like overdid it on the power. Let's crank that up. You know what? Let's just get this back at 85%. And unpause. Give it a second. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Let's just leave it there. Okay, so I'm up 48,000 a cycle. It looks like hasn't ticked down the population too much yet. Still waiting on... oof. This is a slow grind. You know what? You're probably not going to want to watch this with me for an hour and a half. But either way, the answer is we didn't immediately go bankrupt. Oh, Look at this. I've forgotten to put in pipes. I still have the old pipes for a lot of this district, but you can tell, unlike a lot of my roads, I don't actually put a lot of thought into where I put my pipes. But given that we haven't gone immediately bankrupt, I think this is workable, and I imagine you're not going to want to watch this in real time, so I am going to skip ahead to, hopefully, the success of this region. Alright, so it's been a few hours. You notice the frame rate's gotten a little bit lower. That's because I'm running like 6 other applications in the background. Sorry about that. As it is with City Skylines, it takes a little bit for everything to come back in. But it is coming back in. I'm not bankrupt. I've lowered the taxes a little bit, brought back in all the civic policies. And yeah, it's functional. Be tough to tell just how effective this road network is until this fills in completely, but as you see, there's no backups yet. Not even the slightest hint of a snag, but again, I mean, tough to tell until it's all in, till this is all filled out, till we have an entire forestry district down in here. But yeah, so that's the industrial district redesign. What the plan is for now, you notice they're complaining about workers. I'm going to make a bit of a low-density residential district on top of this hill. A couple connections. I don't want to go overboard, but I'll probably bring this highway through to here or something like that. Yeah, probably actually right over. I don't want it straight up the cliff, so I'll have to think of something there. But I'm figuring a district not unlike this, just a bit bigger. So, if you'd like to see what that looks like when it's done, put it in the comments section, and I'll do an update video in, well, I don't know, judging by my history, a year from now. But, no, I'll try to do it sooner than that. But, yeah, that's, I guess that's it. Have a good one.